We begin today by the Mishnah on Tzadik Daled Amud Aleph towards the bottom of Amud Aleph. Zok the Mishnah, Mi shaholcha ishtoil medinas hayam. Person that his wife went overseas. Ba'u v'amrulai. So Adam came along and told him, Meisa ishtocha, your wife died. V'nasa esachaisa. So he got married to her sister. You're not allowed to get married to a sister when your wife is still alive, but after she passes away, you're allowed. Then v'achakach ba'as ishtoi. His wife shows up. So here the halacha is muteres lachzer loy. He's allowed to go back to his original wife, and umute b'krei v'shniya. And the fact that he had a relation with the sister does not make him forbidden. He would be allowed to get married to any of the relatives of that sister. Shniya, and that also, that second wife, that sister, would be muteres b'kroivav, would also be allowed to get married to any of the relatives of this so-called husband, which really was not her husband at all, because this first sister was still alive. So, in other words, the point here the Mishnah is saying is that Chachamim did not impose any knas over here, and everything just goes back to the way it was normally before he goes back to his first wife. V'im meisa.
What about get?
No get, nothing. No, obviously not. The second wife was never his wife. He just goes back to his first wife. The second one was a mistake. Now, why there's no knas here or so on, the Gemara will answer. We'll see. If his first wife, the one that's really his wife, that showed up now, dies, so now muta b'shniya, he would be even allowed to go and marry the sister that he once had a relation with before, so he can go marry her. Now, Amrullah Meisa Ishtai, if what happened is that his wife that left, Adam came and told him, your wife died. V'nasa Sachaisa, and he married the sister, like we just said. Now, but what happens is his wife never came and showed up, but V'achakach Amrullah, then Adam came and told him, Kayemes Haisa, your sister, your wife, the first wife, really she was alive when you married her sister. But Umeisa, now she passed away. So what happens? Havlad Rishain Mamzer. A first child, meaning a child that she had from the sister before his first wife passed away. So that child is a mamzer. It's a child that was born from a forbidden relationship. V'ha'achrain ein mamzer. A child that's born later, meaning after the first wife already passed away. So then that child is not a mamzer. This is all the opinion of the Tanna Kama. Now Rabbi Yosi argues. Rabbi Yosi Aimer. Rabbi Yosi says. Now the words of Rabbi Yosi, I'll read it and translate, and we'll have to wait to see in Gemara what he means to say. So what he says is, Kol shapaisel al yidei acherim, if through this relationship he passels, this man passels others, paisel al yidei atzmai, so he becomes passel himself. The Kol she'ein paisel al yidei acherim, if he does not passel others, einai paisel al yidei atzmai, he does not passel himself. So as Rashi says, B'Gemara mefarish, so we'll wait to see it in the Gemara.
But in the first half of the Tanna Kama, doesn't say, what if they had kids or not?
No, correct. It didn't say anything about that. So l'chayr over there, it's pashut. Any children that would be born would be mamzerim.
Maybe not.
Why not? The child is born from a marriage that was aser, and the sister, the first wife, was still alive. So l'chayr, it's pashut that the children are mamzerim.
So what does it say by the second one then?
Because over there, he's telling you the chiddush that the achran is not a mamzer. That's l'chayr. Over there, he's telling you that. But the first one, l'chayr, it's pashut. Zok the Gemara, so now here the Gemara adds another detail to the case of the Mishnah. And the Mishnah was talking about that the wife went overseas and Adam came and said she died. The Gemara adds, what happens va'afal gav? Now you could say regarding this Mishnah that even if the azal ishtay v'gisay lemedinas hayam, let's say his wife and his brother-in-law both went overseas. Okay, so now he's married, and his brother-in-law is married to his wife's sister. So now his wife and his brother-in-law both went overseas. The ahani nisuim. So now this marriage over here will have the following effect: the kamitzah eishes gisai agisai. So what happens now if Adam came along and said that your wife died and your brother-in-law that went overseas, they both died, and therefore he went and married the sister, his brother-in-law's wife. He married the sister. Okay, so now really, when he married the sister, so this woman was relying on the Adam that said that the husband passed away. What's the halacha of a woman that relies on Adam that said that the husband passed away? So now she becomes usher to go back to the first husband. Like we learned in the beginning of the Perek over here, that the woman will be usher to go back to the first husband. So this marriage over here will have the effect that this woman becomes usher to his brother-in-law. Afilahachi, nevertheless, Eishes Gisai Asira. Only this woman will be usher to go back to her husband, like the halacha is. But Ishtai, his wife though, Sharia, his wife will be mutter to get married to him. So for a woman that went and had a relationship with another man as an Eishes Ish, relying on an aid that said that her husband passed away, for her it will be usher to go back to her husband. But for a man that went and had a relationship with this woman, with this sister, relying on this that they told him that his wife passed away, for him it will be allowed to go back to his first wife. And the chiddush over here is, even though you have both of these in the same case, the aid came and said that his wife passed away and that his brother-in-law passed away. So you had both in the same case. Nevertheless, the halacha will not be the same for the husband and for this wife. We're not going to say because that this woman, the wife of your brother-in-law, became now usher to her husband, to your brother-in-law, because that's the halacha for a woman. So maybe I should say the same thing, so maybe I should apply the same issue should apply for your wife as well, that she should become usher on you. We don't say that. The halacha for a woman is one halacha, the halacha for the man is a different halacha. For a woman, she cannot go back to her husband after she had a relationship with someone else. For a man, he could take back his original wife even though he had a relationship with a different woman. Now, the reason for this distinction, the Gemara will explain at the bottom of the Yevamos. We'll see. But before the Gemara gets to that, the Gemara first says, Leime masnisin deloy Rabbi Akiva. Going back to the Mishnah itself, should we say that our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Akiva? So again, the case over here is, Adam came and said that a person's wife passed away and he had a relationship with her sister, and now the wife showed up. So the Mishnah says he can go back to his original wife. So this Mishnah is not like Rabbi Akiva. Why? The Rabbi Akiva, if it would be Rabbi Akiva, Haviyullah, it would come out according to Rabbi Akiva that now his wife would be Achais Girushasai. This wife that he would want to take back, his original wife that now showed up, she would be the sister of a Gerusha, a sister of the one that he divorced. Why? Because as the Gemara here is going to bring from a Braisa, it seems like Rabbi Akiva is saying in this Braisa that if he had a relationship with a sister of his real wife, he's going to have to give her a get. So if once he gives her a get, the halacha is you can't marry a sister of a woman that you divorced. Where do you see that Rabbi Akiva holds that you have to give this second sister that you had a relationship with a get? The Tanya we learned in the Braisa, Kol Arayah Shebetayre, or the Bachas Geiris Kol Arayah She'amru. All of the arayas that was said that are not allowed, and you had a relationship with them, you went and you got married to these arayas, Ein tzrichas emenu get. So they don't need to get a get from you. Why not? Because the marriage never took effect. It's usher. So if there's no marriage, there's no get. Chutz is one case, me'eshes ish, shenisas al pi bezdin. Besides the case of an eshes ish that went, she's also of course an erva, she's married, she's an eshes ish, and she went and got married to someone else because of the words of an eid echad. Al pi bezdin always means according to the words of an eid echad. So then, then she is going to need a get from this second person that she had a relationship with. Even though usually a Eshes Ish that has a relation with someone else, it's nothing. You don't need a get. But over here, Chachamim will geyser that you do need a get. We learned about this before already. Now, Rabbi Akiva adds on this and says, Af Eshesach. The same would apply also to a person that had a relationship with his brother's wife. Meaning, a person was told that his brother passed away, and you have the mitzvah of Yibum, and he went and had a relationship with his brother's wife, and then he found out that his brother's still alive, his brother showed up. Or also, V'achai Sisha. Rabbi Akiva says, and this is what's relevant for our Mishnah here, also a person that had a relationship with his wife's sister, and then his wife shows up. In such a case, Rabbi Akiva also says that you would need a get. So Rashi actually points out that really it's difficult to understand why you should need a get over here in this case. The fact that a person needs a get, or needs to give this wife a get, when she thought that her husband passed away and she got married to a second person. So that we learned already before in the Gemara why in such a case you need a get. There's a gzeira, because people might think that the first husband that left gave her a get before she left, before he left that is, And now the second marriage was legitimate. And if she's going to leave the second husband without a get, people are going to think she's leaving him without a get. But over here, in this case, why would you need a get? If the brother now shows up, so it's obvious that this second marriage that he went and did yibum because he thought the brother died was a mistake. The brother came and showed up over here now. And or a chaysisha as well, he got married to the sister. People will understand that this whole second marriage here is completely illegitimate. But nevertheless, this is how the Gemara understands. So the Gemara now explains the question. V'kiv in the Amar Rabbi Akiva get if Rabbi Akiva says that if you marry your wife's sister and then it turns out that the sister, your original wife, is still alive, so you would have to give a get to the sister. So memela itzra aleh. So now your first wife should become also to go back to her. Why? Now your first wife is a sister to this woman that you had to give a get to. You're not allowed to marry you're not allowed to live with an achayz gerusha, a sister of a woman that you had to divorce. So that's the question. So therefore our Mishnah seemingly is not Rabbi Akiva. So the Gemara says, no, we misunderstood what Rabbi Akiva said in the Braisa. Did we not learn regarding Rabbi Akiva's opinion? When it says here that if you married your brother's wife, or you thought that your brother died, so you did yivum for your brother's wife, and then your brother shows up, you would have to give a get. What is this talking about? The case over here is shekidish achiv isha. The case is that your brother went and the brother that is here, you thought that your brother died, and you went to you and mekadesh this woman, and no, again, sorry, let me start again. Kagayin shekidish achiv isha. The brother that left never had a full marriage with this woman. He was only mekadesher, only kedushin. Okay. And then and then he left overseas. Now you heard that he died. So now what happened? The brother that thought that he died went and wanted to do the mitzvah of yibum. And he went and got married to his wife. So what are going to people say? People are going to say this is not necessarily a mitzvah of yibum at all. People are going to say the amri inchi hach kama, the first husband that was mekadesher and left. Probably what happened was the kedushin was made with a condition that only on certain conditions should the kedushin take effect. And what happened is probably that condition was not fulfilled, and v'hai shaper nasif. And therefore, even if that original brother, the first husband, shows up again, the second marriage is legitimate because the first marriage of the first husband was only with a condition. And so therefore, in such a case is when people are going to come and you're going to need a get. That's what Rabbi Akiva said, you're going to need a get because people are going to make a mistake to actually think that the second marriage here is legitimate. And the similar also regarding this that Rabbi Akiva says that when you married your wife's sister, when your wife left and now you married your wife's sister, also a similar thing. When you went and married your wife's sister, what happened here? When did Rabbi Akiva say that you would have to give the second wife a get? The sister that you just married a get. Also, your first wife, you never had a full marriage with her. You were only mekadesher, first stage of marriage. And she went overseas. Now he heard that she died. Got married to the sister. So the Amri Inshi, regarding Kedushin, if there was only the first stage of marriage, people will say, Hach Kamaisa, the Kedushin of the first wife, the sister. There was a condition in that marriage, and therefore the condition was not fulfilled. And the fact that he got married to the sister is a good marriage. That's what people might think. So over here, in such a case, Rabbi Akiva requires a get. He says that for the second one, people are going to think that it was a legitimate marriage. You can't just let her go. So in such a case, Rabbi Akiva requires a get, and so therefore, even if your original wife shows up, you won't be able to go back to your original wife. However, if you fully got married to your first wife, is it possible to say that a person makes a condition for nisuin, which is the full marriage, and a person has relations with his wife? Rashi explains, people do not, or really sort of not cannot, but really do not make conditions regarding nisuin. Why not? Because if you make a condition regarding nisuin, that would mean you're telling your wife, okay, we're going to live together, and now only if you fulfill the following conditions will it be a marriage. And if not, then the whole relationship is a znus. So then it's a relationship without a marriage. A person does not want a relationship with his wife to end up being his nus. So people don't make a condition for such a kind of thing. So in such a case, even Rabbi Akiva will agree there's no reason that you would need a get. That's what our Mishnah is talking about. Our Mishnah is talking about a case that the wife that went overseas, he was fully married to her. So in such a case, even Rabbi Akiva would agree that he can go back to his first wife that showed up because he never had to give a get to the sister, to the second wife. The Gemara now, so now we know that our Mishnah could go according to Rabbi Akiva. So the Gemara has another question. Rav Ashi asks Rav Kahana, Rabbi Akiva, if the Mishnah is according to Rabbi Akiva's opinion, so listni nami chamaisai. Instead, the Mishnah is saying a case where a person's wife left and you married her sister, and then the question is whether you can go back to your first wife. According to Rabbi Akiva, it could also bring another case when a person's wife left and he went and married his mother-in-law. Why, according to Rabbi Akiva, could have it said a case where he married his mother-in-law? Because we heard, according to Rabbi Akiva, his opinion is the Amar chamaisai la'achar mise lav b'sreifa, that a person, the Issa, to marry a mother-in-law is only when his wife is alive. If his wife passed away, so then the usual punishment of Sreifa, to get killed by Sreifa, does not apply after a person's wife passed away. So the Mishnah could have said the same case, if it's Rabbi Akiva, it could have said the same case also, that he went and married his mother-in-law. Why did it say only that he married his sister? And the Gemara brings the source for this, that Rabbi Akiva holds that after your wife passes away, a person is allowed to marry the mother-in-law. The Tanya, the Brisa says, the Pasuk says, Be'eshi sroifu oisei ve'esen. Person that marries his mother-in-law, so the man is chayiv sreifa, that's oisei, and then it says esen, they are chayiv sreifa as well. So the question is, who does the they refer to? Does that mean that his wife and his mother-in-law would be chayiv sreifa? Why would his wife be chayiv sreifa? What did she do wrong? So there's a machlokes about how you touch this. One pshat is oisai, he is chayiv sreifa, ve'es achas mehen. Es hen means hen. Rashi says is also in lashon Yevani. Hen means one. Es hen means one of them will be chayiv sreifa. Only the mother-in-law is chayiv sreifa, but not his wife. She did nothing wrong. Divrei Rabbi Shmuel. That's Rabbi Shmuel's opinion. Rabbi Akiva says oisai v'shteyen. He, the man, and Shteim, both of them are chayiv sreifa. Now, what exactly did Rabbi Akiva mean when he said that they're both chayiv sreifa? Rabbi Akiva, again, could not have meant that it refers to the wife and the mother-in-law, that they're both chayiv sreifa. There's no reason the wife should be chayiv sreifa. She did nothing wrong. So what did he mean? So the Gemara here brings a machlokes how to understand Rabbi Akiva's opinion, and the Gemara explains as follows. So now it would be understood according to Abaye, the Omar, what did Abaye say? Mashma is darshan ikke beinayu. The machlokes here between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva is only how you darshan the psukim. They don't actually argue in any practical halacha. They're just arguing regarding how you darshan the psukim. So Rashi explains what this means is, that what they're arguing about is whether in this pasuk it's telling you by using the plural term that the isser of marrying a mother-in-law is not only a mother-in-law, but it's also the mother-in-law, the mother of the mother-in-law. That's the question. It uses a plural term, the next generation up. Does it include that generation up as well? When Rabbi Akiva said shteyen, Rabbi Akiva is saying that in this pasuk you learn out that even the mother of their mother-in-law is also aser. Rabbi Shmuel doesn't disagree that that's aser, but Rabbi Shmuel learns it from a different pasuk. You don't learn it from here, he learns it from a different pasuk. And therefore he says in this pasuk there's only one that gets the chiv of sreifa. So they agree that a mother-in-law and the mother-in-law's mother would be aser, but it's only an argument whether you learn it from this pasuk. But now the point is that according to Abaye's understanding of this machlokes, both according to Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel, a mother-in-law would be aser to marry whether your wife is alive, whether your wife passed away. There's no difference. So therefore, according to Abaye, going back to our Mishnah, when your wife left, there would be no way to say that over here he went and married the mother-in-law. The mother-in-law is still aser when the wife left. But then there's another pshat here though. But according to second, back inside the Gemara. V'shlem el Abaye, right. Second, Mashmos Darshan Ikibinayu, Rabbi Shmuel Savar Chodeksiv. Oh, the Mashmos Darshan Ikibinayu, the Gemara spells it out. So according to Rabbi Shmuel Savar, Rabbi Shmuel holds Chodeksiv. There's only one Isser that's written in this pasuk, and that's the Isser of the mother-in-law. But Rabbi Akiva Savar, Rabbi Akiva's opinion is Tartiksiv, that there's two Isurim written in this pasuk, as I mentioned, one for the mother-in-law and one for the mother-in-law's mother. So Shapir. So then we understand, either way, the mother-in-law is Asr even after your wife passed away. However, Rav has another pshatir. The Omar Rav said, the difference between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva is whether you can marry a mother-in-law after she passes away. So that's in other words, Rabbi Akiva was saying, when he said ve'es shteyen, Rabbi Akiva was saying only when you have both alive. Only when the wife and the mother-in-law is alive, then the Issa applies. If the wife passed away, you can marry the mother-in-law. But Rabbi Shmuel, that is, was saying, achas man, even if only one of them is alive, even if the wife passed away, you still can't marry the mother-in-law. So according to him, that's the machlokes here. So if so, the question is, in our Mishnah, if it goes according to Rabbi Akiva, so why doesn't it say that the case here is that your wife left and you were told she died, and now you went and married your mother-in-law? So the Gemara answers, he told him, no, according to Rabbi Akiva, in such a case when your wife died, so if you marry your mother-in-law, there's no punishment of sreifa, however, even according to Rabbi Akiva, do we say that the Isser is totally off? Only the sreifa, you learn from this pasuk that it won't apply when the wife passed away, but the Isser still does apply. So you're not allowed to marry your mother-in-law forever, even after your wife passed away. So therefore, our Mishnah didn't say that. Now, going back again to the halacha itself of the Mishnah, and as I mentioned, the Gemara here will explain why do we not give here a knas, in this case, similar to what we had in the beginning of the Perek. Why don't we say, if a person marries his wife's sister, so the very fact that you had a relation that's forbidden with your wife's sister, so even if your real wife now showed up, there should be a knas, that you shouldn't be able to go back to your original wife. Midi dahave, it should be similar to what we learned before. Just like a woman that her husband went overseas, and over there what happens? When the husband shows up, there's a knas. She can't go back to her original husband. So why don't we say the same thing over here? Answers the Gemara, it's not the same thing. Loidami, it's not the same thing. Ishtoi, when it comes to his wife, the b'mezid asira, so his wife, if she b'mezid, intentionally has a relationship with another man, so asir midaraisa, so minat Torah, she's not allowed to go back to her husband. That's the halacha. A woman that's mezana b'mezid with someone else cannot go back to her husband. So therefore, b'sheigig gazer barabana. So chachamim were geyser that even over here she was relying on eid echad, and this that she had a relation with someone else was only b'sheigig. Chachamim were geyser she can't go back to her original husband as well. But achais isha, when it comes to a person that had a relationship with his wife's sister, the b'mezid lo yasira. If a man does that, even though it's not allowed, but he does not become asa to go back to his wife, even if he did it b'mezid, so he does not become asa to go back to his wife. So b'sheigig legazer barabanan. So Chachamim did not impose a knas b'sheigig either. So the Gemara now will bring the source for this. From where do we know the layasira? Where do we know that a person that went and had a relationship with his wife's sister, that he will not become aser to his wife? Tanya, we learned in Abraisa. When it says the isser of not having a relationship with the wife's sister, so what does it say there? Oisa, v'shachavish oisa shichva zera. So we learn oisa shchivasa oisrasa, ve'ein shchivasa chaysa oisrasa. That, okay, so this is actually talking about an eishes ish, that if a person went and had a relationship with an eishes ish, so she becomes asa to go back to her husband, but if a man went and had a relationship with his wife's sister, so he does not become asa to go back to his wife. And the Gemara explains, Sheyachayil, and I would think that there's a kal v'chaymer here, that maybe this issa should apply. V'haloi dinu, there would be the following kal v'chaymer. What is this kal v'chaymer? Uma b'makim shabal issa kal, if in a case when a person has a relationship with a woman which is a issa kal, which is a light isser. The Gemara will soon have a discussion what exactly this light isser is. What Rashi over here says, the Gemara's conclusion is that this light isser we're speaking about is a person that has a relationship with a woman that's an eishes ish. So nasar ha'isser, so what happens is her husband, which is the cause for her to be asr to you, he's the one that makes her an eishes ish, he now becomes asr to live with her. Right? That's the halach of an Eishes Ish. If a man has a relationship with an Eishes Ish, now her original husband, she can't go back to her original husband if this was done b'mezid. So if so, makim shaba al issa chomer, in a case where you had a relationship with your wife's sister, which is more stringent than an Eishes Ish, which will be explained soon in the Gemara why it's more stringent. For sure, the sister, which is your wife, she's the cause of this Isser. She's the one that's causing that the sister should be Asr. For sure, you should be asked to go back to living with her. That's what I would think. I would think that you have this Kal V'chaimer. So that's why we have this pasuk that tells you, Oisa, that no, that if you have a relationship with your wife's sister, you could go back to your wife. But now here the Gemara brings a braisa machlokes about this, or this is a continuation actually of this braisa. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Lenechlaku beishamai besilul." Beishamai and besilul do not argue bebal chamaise regarding a person that had a relationship with his mother-in-law. Shapaisel esishtei, that then he will not be able to go back to live with his wife. What do they argue about? If a person had a relationship with his wife's sister, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, this is a machlokes. Beishamai say paisel, he can't go back to his wife now. Beisil says he cannot go back to his wife. Rabbi Yosi says no, it's exact opposite. Beishamai and Beisil do not argue. You had a relationship with your wife's sister, you do not become possible to go back to your wife. In what case do they argue? A person that had a relationship with his mother-in-law. Beishamai say he will become possible to go back to his wife. And Beisil says he's not possible to go back to his wife. And now he brings over here, and this is Rabbi Yosi going to explain, from where does he know that if you have a relationship with your wife's sister, you can go back to your wife? So he says as follows. First of all, he says, there's a svara here. Right, before the Gemara brought the limud from Isa, but now Rabbi Yosi is going to say, in a case where you had a relationship with your wife's sister, b'shaygig, you don't even need that pasuk b'chlal. There's a svara to say that you would be mutter to go back to your wife. And the svara is as follows. What happens before you got married? Before you got married to your wife, the man could marry you wherever he wants. And this woman could also marry whoever she wants. Now, kitcha, if you, who, Isra, once you marry her, so you cause her to be forbidden on certain people. And vihi Isra, and so too, she causes the husband to also become asr on certain women. But now, what's the difference between them? Mirube iser she'asra, the iser that he asr her is again mirube iser she'asra, the iser that she asred him is much more me'iser. Again, let me read this again. Mirube iser she'asra, the iser that he asred her, she's an Eishes Ish. Now, the fact that he asred her, that iser is much more me'iser she'asras hu, from the iser that she asred him. Why? Shehu asra b'chol anashim sheba'ilam. He, the man, asks his wife to get married to anybody. She's an Eishes Ish. She can't get married to anybody now. On the other hand, when she asks him, he only cannot get married to relatives. He can get married to a second wife, but he only can't get married to her relatives. So the isra that she asks him is much less. So if so, we have the following kal v'chaimer. Therefore you have a kal v'chaimer. If he asks her to have a relationship with any man in the world, so shagaga ba'asr law, if she went as a Eishes Ish and b'shegig had a relationship with someone else, she does not become forbidden to her husband. That's mutter to her. She can go back to her husband if she had a relationship with someone else b'shegig. He shalai asrasu ela b'krevi says. So regarding him, it's more lenient. She never asked him on everybody in the whole world. She only asked him to her relatives. Shagag ba'asaloi. So if he b'shegig went and had a relationship with his wife's sister, which is asa to him, ein edin shalai nesar b'mutalai. So for sure, he should not become asa to his wife, which is mutter to him. So therefore, regarding a case of a shaygig, I have the following kal v'chaimer that he should be able to go back to his wife. V'zeh hadin l'shegig. So Rabbi Yossi says this is a kavachayim regarding a case where a person had a relation with his wife's sister b'shegig. L'meizid minayin. How do you know if he had a relation with his wife's sister b'meizid that he can still go back to his wife's sister? Regarding a meizid, you can't say this kavachayim because b'meizid, the eishes ish that had a relation with someone else, b'meizid is aser. Talmud Laimar. So therefore he brings back the pasuk we had before. Oisa shchivasa yisrasa, an eishes ish that had a relation with someone else, it asks her to her husband, but a relationship with the wife's sister will not make the husband usher it will not make the husband usher to his wife. This is the conclusion of the Braisa. So now the Gemara is going to explain various different parts of this Braisa. Amar Rabami, Amar Reish Lakish. Rabami said in the name of the Shlakish, my time with the Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reason of Rabbi Yehuda's opinion? Rabbi Yehuda said that once a person has a relationship with his mother-in-law, so everybody would agree that you can't go back to his wife. So he brings the same pasuk we had before, but he darshans it differently. The Chsiv, the pasuk said, "Ve'eshi sreifu oisay ve'esen," that they all are chayiv sreife, the husband and esen, and so what does esen mean? Esen means the wife and the mother-in-law. So the question is, as the Gemara was addressing before, v'chikol abayis kulei b'sreifa. Do you have to? Are they all chayiv in sreifa? The husband, the wife, and the mother-in-law. Why should the wife be chayiv in sreifa? The wife did nothing wrong. So how does Rabbi Yehuda darshan this? If you can't learn from here that there's a chiyuv of sreifa for the wife because she did nothing wrong, teneu inyan li isura. It's using a plural term to say that after you had a relationship with a mother-in-law, so now you can't go back to your wife. So that's why it uses the plural term to include the wife, to say that you can't go back to your wife. That's how he darshans this pasuk. So it's a different drasha than before. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, En halacha ke Rav Yehuda. We don't paskin like Rav Yehuda, which means that once a person had a relationship with his mother-in-law, he still could go back to his wife. The Gemara brings an incident that happened. Person had a relationship with his mother-in-law. Asyei Rav Yehuda. And Rav Yehuda brought him a nagde. He gave him malchus, he gave him lashes. This is, of course, in the time when the Bezdin did not give the einish of sreifa anymore. And he told him, if not for the fact that Shmuel said that we don't paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, asrisa Allah iser da olam. I would have asked you on your wife forever because you had a relationship with your mother-in-law. Another detail we had before in the Braisa. It said before a kal v'chaymer of a iser kal. My iser kal. What's the iser kal? The Gemara before, the Braisa that is before said a kal v'chaymer that a person that has a relationship with a iser kal, so he asers this woman on the person that asked her. What kind of isakal are we talking about? And from there we wanted to learn out a kavachayim regarding a chaysishte, that if you have a relationship with your wife's sister, that your wife should become aser on you. So what is that isakal? So here the Gemara is going to go through various different opinions until it comes to the conclusion that it's talking about an eishesish. Let's see. So Rav Chisda first says, machze gerushasa. It's speaking about a person that is getting remarried to a woman that he divorced and she already got married to someone else. Mishanisis. So now the halach is as follows. Mishanisis, once she got married to someone else. Ba'aleh hai, when the second husband got married to her, asra aleh dahai. So the first husband became asra to her. Ba'aleh idoch. So what happens now if the first husband did go and marry her, even though he wasn't allowed, but the first husband did go ahead and remarried her? Asra aleh dahai. So now he's going to ask her from getting remarried to the second husband that married her. Okay. In other words, it's very simple. First, the fact that the second husband remarried her makes her usher to go back to the first husband. But if the first husband did remarry her, so now she's the grusha from the second husband, she becomes usher to the second husband. So this is a case where you see that you had a forbidden relationship with a woman, and she becomes usher to that man that made her usher to you. Maybe that's the case the Braisa was speaking about. And from there we want to learn out regarding a chais ishtay as well, that if you had a relationship with your wife's sister, that she should become asa to your wife that made this woman asa to you. So the Gemara says, no, there's no comparison. By machze grushasai, what you did is a much more stringent iser. Mala machze grushasai, if you're returning your grusha, mishanisis, once you got married to someone else, shekenitma haguf, you had a relationship with the one that's asa herself. It's not a chais ishtai. You never had you had a relationship with a sister, and you want to make the issa now for your wife. Over here, you had a relationship with this woman herself. So that's why she becomes asa to the second husband. Ve'isura beroiv. And also, this is an isser that is beroiv, which means that now, once she got remarried to anybody, no matter who she would get remarried to, not only to you, if she would get remarried to anybody, she would become asa to the second husband. Over here, though, it's only by the sister, it's only this one sister, only this man of it that's getting married to this sister. V'isura isser oilam. And also, when it comes to machzeh grushasei, this isser is forever. By isser of marrying your wife's sister, it's not an isser forever. Why? If your wife's sister passes away, if your wife, that is, passes away, you can marry the sister. So that you can't make a kavachaymer from machzeh grushasei. So that can't be the case. Amar Rish Lakish says Yevamos. When it said that you had a relationship with a Isser Kal, what it was speaking about, a Yevamos. So the Gemara now explains, Yevamos laman, a Yevamos to whom? Ileim la'acher. What happened over here is, there was a Yevamos that was waiting for Yibum. And she, the Yevamos, went and had a relationship with someone else. And what Rav Amnuna, and this is like what we learned many times before. Rav Amnuna said, Amar Rav Amnuna shemeres yavam, a woman that's waiting for yibum, shezinsa, she went and was mizana with someone else, asura yavam, she can't go back to her yavam. And so this is the case, that she was asa through her yavam, she was asa to get married to someone else. She went and got asa and had a relationship with someone else, and now she becomes asa to the yavam, which was the source of her original issa to get married to someone else. And from there we want to learn out that by a chayis ishtay, the issa should apply as well. So the Gemara again says you can't learn out from yavam. Why not? Mali yavam shekei nitma guf. Over here as well, the point is that the relationship was with this woman that's asa, not with a sister, not with someone else. V'isura beroiv. And also this is issa for anybody that got married to this woman, which is asa to get married to anybody in the world. Ella, so therefore the Gemara says maybe we could say that the kavachayme here regarding the Yevamos is a different case. Yevama la'achin. A Yevama that became aser to other brothers. How does it, a Yevama that's up for Yivum, any brother could do Yibum, but there's a case where the Yevama becomes aser to other brothers. When is that? Because Avad ba Maimer, one of the brothers went and did Maimer. So as you remember, Maimer is that he was Mekadesher midrabanan, and once he does that, so Asra led the high. When one brother did Maimer, he now asks her to have a relationship with any of the other brothers. So now, if any of the other brothers did go and did Yibum, had a relationship with her, so now Asra led the high. She can't now go back to the original husband that did Maimer for her. So over here, this is a case where you see that because she had a relationship with one of the other brothers, she becomes Asra to the original brother that asked her, the original brother that did Maimer. Maybe that's the source, that's the case that we want to learn out from there regarding the Isser of a chayis ishtay. Says the Gemara again, if that's the case, the Braisa is speaking about, my area shaba aleh sheni. What does it say in the Braisa? That another person came and had a relationship with this Isser Kal. Why does it say in the Braisa that someone had a relationship with her? In this case, a filav ava banami maimer. If one brother did maimer, and now another brother went ahead and did maimer, so once a second brother does Maimer, she can't go back to the first brother that did Maimer. So the Gemara says, Hole Kasha. There's no question why the Braisa did not say that. Rabbi Gamliel, because this follows Rabbi Gamliel's opinion, which we learned here in the Masechta a long time ago. The Amar Rabbi Gamliel said, Ein Maimer acha Maimer. Once one brother does Maimer, you can't do Maimer for a second brother again. So that's not an option. Ella, the Gemara says, there's another question on this. Afilu nasan lo get, afilu chalatz lo. If one brother does Maimer, and then a second brother comes along and gives her a get or does chalitza for her, she can't go back to her original brother that did Maimer. So why would the Braisa over here say that someone else came and had a relationship with her? Even without that, even if another brother just gave a get or did chalitza, that should answer her to the original brother that did Maimer. So this can't be the case that the Braisa was speaking about. Elam Rabbi Yechanan, again, we're trying to figure out what's the Isser Kal the Braisa was speaking about. So Rabbi Yechanan says Saita. Speaking about a Saita, of course the case of the Saita is a woman that was suspected of having a relationship with another man. She went privately with him after she was warned not to. So now what case would this be? Saita Laman. A Saita to be asa to whom? Ileim Labal. Is it the fact that a Saita now is not allowed to have a relationship with her husband? Baal. So what happens if the husband does have a relationship with her when he wasn't allowed? Asra aleha de bayil. So now the bayil, this person that's suspected to have a relationship with her, would be asa to ever live with her, even if this husband passes away. My area bala. This is not only in a case where the husband had a relationship with her. Afila nasan lo get. What happens if a husband just divorces his wife? Or vafila ama einani mashke, he says, I'm not going to allow my wife to go and drink the waters of the Saita to determine if this bayil, if this person had a relationship with her. She still can't go and live with this bayil. Not only if the husband had a forbidden relationship with her. There's other cases as well, so that's not the case of the Braisa here. Ella, says the Gemara, Saita lebayil. A Saita that's a Eishes Ish, and she's suspected of having a relationship with this person, she's not allowed to go and live with this bayil. She's a Eishes Ish. Says the Gemara, Hi Issa Kalhu, this you refer to as a light Isser. Isser Chamaru, that's a very stringent Isser. The Hainu Eishes Ish, this is basically a case of an Eishes Ish. A woman which is an Eishes Ish, and you suspect her of having a relationship with a bayil, she's not allowed to go and have she's an Eishes Ish. Why is this a Issa Kal? Elo Amar Rava, so Rava says, you don't have to say Saita, but actually it is talking about a case of an Eishes Ish. We're almost finished, we're going to finish just over here to the two dots over here. So Rava says, Eishes Ish. We're talking about a case of an Eishes Ish, and this is considered to be an Isser Kal, as the Gemara will explain it. It's called an Eishes Ish. Umay, or the Bach says, V'amay karela Isser Kal. Why is the Eishes Ish called a light Isser? Eishes Ish is a very stringent Isser. And the reason is, She'ein ha'Isra Isra kol yama, because by Eishes Ish, the cause of this Eishes Ish, which is the fact that she's married to her husband, is not necessarily all her lifetime. If the husband dies or the husband divorces her, so then she'd be mutter to get married to anybody else, as opposed to the wife's sister. As long as this wife's sister is still alive, she'll be asa forever. So that's why that's the most stringent Isser. Tanya Nami Hachi, this is what we learned in the Braisa. Abachanan Amma Mishom Rabbalaza Eishes Ish. So he said this exact Kavachayim regarding an Eishes Ish. If in a case where a person has a relationship with a woman which is a light Isser. She'eina Isra Kol Yamav. Why is it a lighter Isser? Because it's an Eishes Ish. And he doesn't make her usher his entire lifetime. He could divorce her. Nesara Iser, but if you had a relationship with her as an Eishes Ish, she will now be usher to her husband, which is the cause of her Iser. Habal Issa Chomer. If you come on a Issa Chomer, which is a wife's sister, Shaha Isra Kol Yamav, the sister makes her usher as long as she's alive. That's why it's more Chomer. Enidin Shanesra Isra. So for sure, if you have a relationship with the sister, it should make the wife usher forever. Talmud Laimar, Isa, that's why it says that only Eishes Ish herself that had a relationship with someone else. Isa, Shchivasa Israsa. If she had a relationship with someone else, she becomes Aser, Ve'ein Shchivas Achaisa Israsa. But if she had a relationship with a sister, or that is, if he had a relationship with her sister, she does not become Aser to him.